They don't know how I'm alive. Like stuff, like weird stuff that a 23-year-old doesn't know how to process. And so I didn't know what that meant for my life. Like, I had all these questions, like, well, can I still, like, be active? Like, because I was in pretty good shape. I've never been, like, athlete status, but at that point in my life, I was taking my health seriously and was working out and being really active. And they were like, yeah, you might be able to do that. You just won't be able to do it at the levels that you used to be able to. And I don't take, like, I don't take people telling me what I can and can't do very well.
That's the grizzly.
So they told me, like, you're probably not going to be able to do, like, marathons, or like running might not be a thing anymore, or like, just little stuff that, like, most people probably don't care about. But I was like, I'm going to be able to do that again one day. And in 2018, I ran my first. It was a 5K. It wasn't a marathon. Don't get excited, everybody. I ran my first race
5 miles
since 2013. So that was exhilarating to be able to look back on that day that I was told I probably won't be able to actually doing it. Like, it made me feel really good.
See, how cool was that? And even cooler, not to get too off track, I was listening to Don't Keep Your Day Job, and the host Kathy Heller gave a shout out to James. That is so cool that he was featured on her show as a win of the week, and he's doing his work, and even his dad is getting into leather creation. So happy that he was able to be spotlighted. You deserve it, man. Now I want to go back to Billy Lamont, and he offers some really good advice about where your energy should be when you're trying to serve. Should the focus be on yourself or who you're serving? Listen to what Billy has to say about that.
Yeah, and then what happened, I started to think, like, well, what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to give hope to people. And my first, like, solo poetry reading was, I wanted to go to an autistic area, so St. Mark's Place in the late 80s, and it was a homeless dinner. And I wanted to give hope, and I started to think, stop thinking about, like, how you look or what you're saying or being nervous, and think about what you're giving. And when I did that, I want to give hope, I want to give love, whatever. Like, it just changed the whole energy, because the focus was where it should be, instead of being self-conscious or whatever. And it was like freeing, And then I didn't have any stage fright since then. It was like just natural and flowing,
I do like that. When you're serving a higher purpose, it makes you feel better, gets you out of your head, and lets you realize what's the most important thing at that moment. And coming right out of that, I go to Liz Acar, who's a photographer living in Key West, Florida. She's had her share of loss and suffering too, but she found her creative outlet and even made a photography book with the help of another author. And she goes into why your art does matter to the world, and getting out of your head thinking, who am I to churn out something? Because what you do put out into the world can affect at least one life, and that's what really matters. Take a listen.
When a message is able to go out like that, and the work you do, it's not about me. I was a conduit. Kim and I were conduits. And it's touching the world in amazing ways that I never expected. And it's become more of a mission to get that book out there now. And it's what I love about it is we all have that in there. How many times have we stopped ourselves from doing something because we thought, who am I? I mean, who am I to have a best-selling photography book when I only have an iPhone 7, or, who am I to think I'm an author, and those stories. And if we hold on to those stories and we don't move through it, we might be not sharing a gift with a world that the world needs, that can benefit from. So, for all those that have that creativity, inside. It's so different. It doesn't have to be a book. It can be creatively telling your story. It can be creatively sharing a moment with someone, but being focused on that and allowing yourself to step through that discomfort and that uncertainty and maybe that fear. Because I'm like, what will people think? I might be judged. I might be criticized, but so what? What if it touched one life, which it has? It's getting close to 400 books have been sold since April, which is amazing. Since April. And I haven't even really marketed it. So that's what's amazing.
There is a common theme with many artists, some of them have been on the show, about family members, usually parents, concerned that they're not going to be able to sustain a life in the arts, that they won't be able to make money doing it. And they can be very discouraging about them trying to pursue a career in the arts. But thankfully, many of us ignore these words and discouragement and pursue a career in the arts because it's not about the money. It's about this mission you're on to serve or just to fulfill yourself. It's your calling. It's your gift. You have to answer it. And in many cases, you can make a living out of it. And that brings me to one of my most inspiring guests. This is Rebecca Flott, a painter who lives in Colorado and has her own business. But she started off in Brazil. And, of course, her family was very concerned because she wanted to come to America and pursue this career. But she did it. She learned the language. She learned new art skills. And it just grew from there. She had a very good focus on what she wanted to do, and it grew into this painting business that she has. She has an Etsy shop, so much more. And here's why she thinks that parents are concerned about their children pursuing a career in the arts.
I think it's a way of protecting the kids. Okay. I think they feel like if you are a teacher, you have a guaranteed salary, and like different professions maybe has better, you have better recognitions. I don't know. I think it's a way of protecting the kids that you love. You don't want them to be artists because you don't know what that means, where they're gonna be, in life. So,
but you're the story that says it can be done.
It can be done, yes. And I think even it's hard for even the people in Brazil to look at me like, oh, what? This girl went to United States and now she makes a living doing art, and now her husband works with her, and now she owns a painting studio, and now she... I have 9 artists that works for me part-time. Wow. And I, work with different artists, creating different things every day. And I absolutely love the life that I have now, that I get a chance to actually put a mark and say, what do I want to give to the world? What do I want to say through my art? And it's amazing. It's amazing what art can do to people. It changes them and brings memories to them and revives something inside of their heart. I've been on Etsy since 2013, doing Etsy shop, right? And on Etsy, I have connected with so many different people that write me letters about their entire life and why they want a piece of art. And then you realize more and more, this is not just a decoration business. This is a business about creating a piece of art that will bring the memory something that is going to completely transform how they feel. And I don't have any hope, to this brings me joy. This brings me hope. I am struggling right now, but when I look at this art, it reminds me what the future can be for me. So I think art does that to people so intensely that it's just beyond decoration. It's beyond having a beautiful home with a piece of art. It's speaking with nature. It's speaking with forms and colors and textures. And I think that's so vibrant in our lives. And we all need art.
So see, let that be a lesson to you concerned parents. Your child can get a career in the arts to sustain them and pay their bills and get them through life and have a house and all that stuff. It can be done. And this is from someone coming from another country. Believe it, it's possible. Well, next up, I want to bring in Clarissa Castillo Ramsey. She's a painter from California. And she has 3 quotes that she shares. And the most recent one is, "You do you." And she explains what that means. It does kind of fit into what Rebecca just said about parents being concerned about what you're doing. And Clarissa expands on it in a way where it's, well, who are you doing this for? Is it for them? Is it for yourself? Is it for something bigger? Take a listen.
One that I always, go back to is, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right.
Yep, Henry Ford, right?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. And, so that is one. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Another one.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And then most recently, a phrase that I keep on saying over and over again is, "You do you." Because I feel like at this point in my life, I've always known I was an artist. I always, knew that from my core as a little child. And I worked, I feel like, for a majority of my life, even though I painted here and there and, I've had my shows and all this and that, I felt like it was still kind of suppressed. And I felt like I really had to live up to my parents' expectations and society's expectations and, do what's right, versus make a difference. And, look good versus making a difference. And I just, I'm at a point in my life now where I'm like, nope, I'm doing me. I'm living for me.
All right, from here, we're going to check out Joe Duncan. He's a comedian, also in California. And he offers some really nice snippet that, of course, us artists go through challenges and obstacles when it comes to our art. But maybe sometimes what you have inside you, that gift, maybe what you're trying to get out there doesn't have to be such a struggle. Here's what he has to say.
I think that's one lesson also, is that it shouldn't be, it isn't always a struggle. Sometimes art is not a struggle. Sometimes you're just good at things. So accept it. When other people tell you you're good at something, believe them. Unless they want something from you. You have to be mindful of that. Los Angeles is filled with flattery. Dorothy Parker said this is the only business where people can die of encouragement. Which I thought was a clever quote. And if you've been in the entertainment industry, you know what she means. Everybody wants to see your next thing. I love it. What else do you have?
Yeah.
But of course, many of us artists face a great deal of challenges, struggles, obstacles, many of which are our own creation. But we find a way to go through it, and sometimes it does take something brutal to wake us up. And that brings me to Elke Blasi. She's a filmmaker, referred to me by Lorianne Davis, who was studying film and learning. Then she got a terrible injury to her hand, which derailed her. And she thought she'd try real estate, but that was not working out for her. And here she explains an interesting story about getting an interview with a real estate agent and what they said to her to help her get motivated and learn that she was meant to do this filmmaking and even craft her own feature film. Here's Elke.
I injured my hand really badly. I had a terrible accident with my hand, and I kind of let my dreams take a back seat because I was actually between jobs at the time, and it was a bad time for that to happen when you don't have a job and insurance and stuff, and so that really sucked. So I started learning real estate,